Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Monday. And with me, as always, is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome all listeners to Monday, where I love it when the coffee kicks in and I realize what an adorable badass I'm going to be this week.
Yeah, that's cute.
Thank you.
Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, my stubborn Taurus, it's your turn today.
Taurus, you have endured various challenges, and now the cosmos is ready to reward your resilience. As we reach the midpoint of July, a period of stability and growth awaits you. The universe will open doors, possibilities, and relationships, presenting you with a range of exciting opportunities. In your career, the struggles you face have honed your skills and determination. The cosmos recognizes your efforts and will now provide avenues for advancement. Be prepared for new professional opportunities, whether it's a promotion, a promising job offer, or the chance to showcase your talents in a significant project. Embrace these opportunities with confidence and trust that your hard work will be recognized. In the realm of relationships, the challenges you've encountered will allow you to cultivate wisdom and discernment. Now, the cosmos will guide you towards meaningful connections. New friendships and romantic possibilities will emerge, bringing joy and fulfillment to your life. Stay open and receptive to these opportunities that can transform your world and create lasting bonds. Financially, the stability you have sought is within reach. The cosmos will provide you with the means to improve your financial situation. Look out for lucrative investments, new sources of income, and unexpected windfalls. Stay grounded and make wise financial decisions, and you will experience a positive shift in your monetary circumstances. On a spiritual level, the challenges you face have deepened your connection with the universe. The cosmos invites you to dive even further into your spiritual journey. Embrace practices such as meditation, mindfulness, and connecting with nature. These practices provide you with the needed moments of quiet reflection, allowing you to foster self-reflection and, ultimately, find your inner peace. Taurus, the cosmos is aligning in your favor. After enduring challenges, you are now entering a period of stability, growth, and abundant opportunities. Embrace the doors that open before you. Seize the possibilities presented and nurture the relationships that come your way. Trust in your abilities. Stay grounded and do not be afraid of allowing the cosmic energies to guide you towards a prosperous future.
What sounds do Tauruses make?
Well, that's a very strong bowl.
Here you go. Now that we've done our horoscope reading for the week, let's jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning cup of brew. What have you prepared for me today?
Well, I decided to do a little bit of hibiscus, some rooibos, cranberry, and pomegranate just to go ahead and bring off that little kick.
Oh man, that is 100%.
See, I try to go for the fruits that I knew you would like, and I know you like cranberry juice and you like pomegranates.
This is a 5 out of 5.
Yes, I did it.
You can't miss.
For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for leaving a note on my neighbor's doorstep about his screaming children? I have lived in the same apartment building for about 5 years. Throughout my time here, I've had many neighbors come and go, and I have never had any noise issues. However, last year, a new neighbor moved in 3 units down. He's about 40 and has 3 children under the age of 4. For months, I have listened to his children scream/cry all day long, whether it be in his apartment or in the hallway. At first, I tried to ignore the behavior, as I felt bad. It appeared he was a newly single father and was struggling. However, as time went on, it became clear that he just straight up lets his kids behave however they want. For example, when they shriek at the top of their lungs in the hallway/right outside my door, he never says, "Shh, let's be quiet," or anything at all. He just lets it happen without a peep. Additionally, I have come to realize the frequency and the volume of the screaming/crying/shrieking is way beyond what is normal. I'd venture to say I hear anywhere from 10 to 15 full-on tantrums every single day, all of which are ear-piercingly loud. And like I said, he does not say or do anything about these tantrums. It's now at the point where I find myself frustrated and annoyed in my own home all the time. Right now, I'm working on a paper in my apartment, and I can't even concentrate because all I can hear are his children. Because of this, I wrote a polite note, and left it on his doorstep. Essentially, my note said that I sympathized with him, but the noise is out of control. I also stressed that I wanted to confront him directly first. I realize that sounds hypocritical since I left an anonymous note, rather than going straight to management. Am I the a-hole for leaving this note? Should I have handled it differently?
Okay, so let's get all the facts together. Is ROP he or she?
She.
Okay.
Based on all of the writings and comments.
Okay. I didn't get that from the reading, that's why I asked.
Understandable.
So she lives in an apartment. I guess new tenants just moved in, which would be this 40-year-old father.
Correct.
40-ish. He's got 3 kids, all under the age of 4.
What a handful.
Yeah. I can hear all the noise being emitted just from the story. So do they say how long they've been moved in for? How long this has been going on?
So she says that her neighbor that moved 3 units down has been there for about a year.
Okay, so she's been dealing with this for a little around that time.
Yes.
And she says about 15 tantrums a day. That's a lot.
In a small apartment complex. Yeah, that can be a lot.
Especially if they're like very close by. I'm going to have to say, I don't think the OP is in the wrong. I think she actually went about it the way most people would. Especially when you're talking about like today and having to be aware of everything. I think most people would rather go ahead and leave you a letter, especially if it's dealing with something that could be considered confrontational. I think it's better off to do that now because you really don't know people.
Or what they do.
Yep.
I can definitely understand that.
But I don't think her words were out of place. It sounded like she was taking the high road here. She let him know that the noise is a little much, that she can sympathize with his position being a new, I guess we're saying he's a divorcee, but you do have to like be aware of your children. You're living in a communal area. I understand that it may feel private when you're shutting your door, but you live in an apartment complex. So for her to have dealt with that for over a year.
I think her issue seems to be that the screaming and the tantrums would happen in the hallway,
like
especially
in front of her
right
door.
outside her door.
Yeah.
And since they're only 3 units down.
And him not attempting to make any type of correction with his kids or teach them.
Which is important with children.
It is, especially at that age. Because if forever how long they're going to stay in that apartment complex, they need to learn how to have etiquette. Everyone lives there. I'm sure if the roles were reversed, he'd have a feeling just like her. But for her to have put up with it for an entire year, good on her for that, because I know most people would not have done that. And I think that he should feel fortunate in this case because she didn't go to management first.
Well, the moderators put not the a-hole. However, you can see the back and forth and the few comments, because this was a relatively small thread, that said that they thought that she was the a-hole. And the only reason being is because a lot of people put down, you have to see it from his side. He is probably a new single father. You don't know what situations or what's going on with the children that's causing them to have these tantrums. It could be out of his control.
Okay.
Now,
we're also talking about a full year.
Correct. I understand the back and forth. Like I said, it seemed like a majority of the people agreed with one comment that just said, not the a-hole for how you feel, but just try and be a little bit more understanding. You know,
I think not reporting him to management for over a year is being very understanding in that situation. Leaving him a note explaining what's been going on. Is that not understanding?
I think it depends on how it comes across. Maybe.
Well, did it come across that way? That's where I'm like.
I think that's where a lot of people probably have that neighborly mentality. If you see that something's going wrong, maybe it would be better for you to actually reach out and knock on the door and almost talk it out. Now, I understand in our atmosphere, it's really quite dangerous to truly go out and talk to a neighbor like. But before I really start delving down into why the consensus is the way it is, let me go to this interesting update.
Oh.
So our poster says in her update, after reading the comments in my original post, I decided to remove the note before my neighbor saw it. I took what some of you said into consideration. Perhaps I just needed to be more patient. I decided if the noise issue escalated, then I'd do something. Otherwise, I would just suck it up and use headphones like some of you advised. Well, today his children screamed/shrieked 4 times within a 1-hour period in the hallway. This was right by my door, about 2 feet away from my apartment. The 4th time it happened, I opened my door and said, "Please don't scream in the hallway, guys." Once I said this, he told me that his kids are allowed to scream in the hallway or anywhere else in the building that they feel like. I told him that actually no, they're not, according to our lease. He then told me to suck it up and to contact management and to not talk to him. After our conversation, he told all 3 of his kids, "You can be as loud as you want in here," and then shot me a nasty look and proceeded to walk to the stairs. Once he said that, all 3 kids started squealing as loud as possible on purpose. I sent management an email, and they were talking to him first thing in the morning. I know some of you suggested I do this in the first place. I wish I did. Update 2.0. I just went down to the management office to follow up with the manager. She said she had a meeting set for today at 1 p.m. with the resident. She immediately contacted him when I emailed her last night. But then today, he emailed her saying he could no longer make the 1 p.m. meeting and asked why he had to come down. He's in his apartment right now doing nothing. He doesn't work. She told him he is in violation of his lease and it's best if he comes down. Apparently, he didn't reply to her. She told me that if he doesn't come down to meet with her, she's going to draft an official lease violation letter and begin the process of eviction. I was blown away. She's a great manager. She told me that his reaction, telling me his kids are allowed to yell and telling the kids to keep yelling, is the reason for how she's handling this, not purely the noise complaint. She said she's horrified and disgusted that somebody would handle the situation this way. Her and I both agreed that it was strange he would encourage me to not speak to him and to contact management rather than simply telling his kids, shh, and appreciating I said something to him directly. Update 3.0. After I talked with management, I saw my neighbor bring his children to their mother's house. He's been in his apartment alone for the last few days and hasn't come out. He has all the blinds drawn. He posted the following status on social media. I am the perfect success in all areas of my life. My husband follows him, which is how I know this. I think he's pretending he's not home to avoid myself and management. I don't know what to make of it, and I don't plan on getting involved. Now, let me just go ahead and let you know a little bit more of the background on all of this. Our poster said that her husband has a very amicable relationship with the neighbor, and in fact says that the neighbor seems to be pretty introverted, a little socially awkward. She said she only ever had one real conversation with him on her own, but her husband's very outgoing and tends to be friendly and charismatic, and they've had a few conversations. So one of the reasons why she knows of his employment status and of his status online is because of how active her husband is in social media. Additionally, she said that because of how he had come across and talked to her husband and how he seemed a little bit more introverted and almost shy, that she was really shocked that when she told him, the kids to quiet down, that he took a very aggressive approach, which is why everything kind of just blindsided her, and she did exactly what some commenters said to do, which is don't even try and face it off yourself, just involve management. So here's another interesting tidbit that our poster provided to some commenters. When they asked, I guess, more clarification on the relationship between the father and how potentially other neighbors took the noise. And she says in their complex, they have a pool. And there was one point that she noticed that he went down to the pool with his kids. And the kids were very loud, screaming, yelling, shrieking. However it is, they were being extremely loud. And there were other parents and kids at the pool as well. And as you know, a lot of children have the parent mentality. When they see other kids doing it, they want to do it too.
Sure.
I was like that. Our son is like that. It's just something in our behavior that just says, if they're having fun and they're being loud, then I can have fun and I can be loud.
Let me ante it up.
Right. Let's make this a competition. So apparently she said that when she was at this pool and was watching this whole thing sort of, I guess, lay out the situation, that the other kids, the other children started yelling, and the parents were trying to correct this behavior and were telling them not to yell. And she said it was like something clicked on and turned on for him, because it was almost like he was oblivious to the noise that his children were making. Or maybe he might be. Doesn't want to reprimand his children into being,
Or it truly just doesn't bother him, so he doesn't think it bothers other people.
Correct. And when he realized that other families were getting bothered, he essentially had, rather than tell his children to quiet it down, just wrapped it up and they all went home. It feels a little odd.
He might be new to the game of sharing space with people. We don't know if they just came from suburbia and he's used to having his own house and his space where his kids can be that way.
That's very true.
There's a lot there. Again, I understand the guy's a straight wiener jacket. I get that part. But I can also see where our OP was going, trying to understand all of it. And he's a divorcee. He's dealing with all these things. I'm shocked that if her husband had already had the rapport that he did with him, that she didn't have the husband go and talk to him about, hey, look, the noise gets a little loud. Is there any way we can work on that?
I wish this gentleman the best. It sounds like he's still growing. He's got very young children. And yes, if he is a little socially awkward and doesn't understand those social cues because he comes from, as you said, an actual home in suburbia versus an apartment complex sharing close space with other people, it'll just take time.
Yeah, and I hope he does right the ship because he does have 3 kids that are going to be looking up to him as they get older.
Well, let's go ahead and leave this apartment complex. It looks like we don't have the key to the pool. And let's go to our next story. Am I the a-hole? My sister, 31, got upset with me, female 27, for a comment I made about her husband. My sister recently became a new mom, and she's been married for almost 2 years. We have a good relationship as siblings and friends, and I also get along well with her husband despite not knowing him too well. One morning, my sister and I were playing with her son on my bed, and I noticed how calm he became when she hugged him. We had a lighthearted conversation about cuddling, where she mentioned her husband's concern about cuddling the baby too much would make him soft. I expressed my belief that cuddles make kids feel secure and happy, and to not let her husband dictate cuddle rules. However, my sister unexpectedly snapped at me, feeling that I insinuated something negative about her husband. I was taken aback because I thought we were having some banter. I knew her husband wasn't serious about his comment. She then said she wishes she hadn't discussed the topic with me. This is the 3rd time she snapped at me during her visit for context. I normally apologize, but this time I could tell she was triggered by my words and told me off. I decided to take some time alone to think things through. Later, my sister confronted me about crossing a boundary by making that comment. I explained that I never intended to insult her husband or be rude, but rather I wanted my nephew to feel loved. However, she insisted that I had crossed a line and accused me of not respecting other people's boundaries while enforcing my own. She went as far as saying, "You have no right to tell me what to do." This made me so angry, so in order to regain composure, I simply said okay and asked her to leave my room. Our conversation ended abruptly, and we didn't speak for the rest of the day. The next day, I offered her a cup of coffee as a peace offering, as I believed she had misunderstood my intentions and reacted strongly. However, she expressed discomfort being at our house and left to house sit for a relative, which made my mom cry. I don't believe my comment was that offensive, and it seems like the situation has been blown out of proportion. I'm unsure if I am the one at fault here. Am I the a-hole?
So let's go on a journey because I'm kind of lost.
All right, let me go ahead and grab my bag.
Okay, so OP is living in the same home as sister, is what it sounds like.
Either they're living in the same home or maybe they're staying for a period of time.
Okay, so I guess we'll start with this. OP is on the bed with her sister.
Correct.
The baby, I guess, is crying or something's happening, a fuss.
Crying, fussy, and probably in between the two.
Sister goes and hugs the baby, and it calms the baby down. So our OP exchanges some nice words, I guess, saying that it's nice that the baby gets calm when she hugs him. And then our sister in the story tells her that the dad says that she shouldn't be hugging the baby that much because it makes him weak, soft.
Yeah, soft, yeah.
Okay, that's ridiculous, but you can think the way you want, I guess.
Unless it was just said as a joke.
It might have been a joke. I hope it was a joke.
Well, she says inside of here that she understands that the comment wasn't made in seriousness.
Okay, well, that makes the story even weirder, though, as to why the sister would have the reaction that she did. So I want to ask this. She says it in the story, though, that this is the 3rd incident within that day that she's had her sister snap at her.
Correct. And not that stay, that visit. So
Okay.
it could be a couple days, it could be that day.
But it's within a short amount of time.
Correct.
I wonder what's been going on with the sister that she's ready to have an altercation at every corner, it sounds like. because she's defending her husband over a point that really isn't that big of a deal, especially when it sounds like both parties understand that the husband was joking about the comment.
Unless, however it is that the sister said it, came across as too serious.
Sure, now context is important. We can't hear people's tones in these stories sometimes. So I guess I'll leave it here. I don't believe you're the a-hole for telling your sister that cuddles are good for kids and that you shouldn't let your husband dictate how much you can or can't do that with your baby. I don't see where that's a bad thing, especially, again, everyone understands that that was a joke what the husband said. It is weird that she's defending and dying on that hill for her husband on a point that's not really there. I wonder what's going on, though.
Well, it's interesting that you're wondering what's going on. But let me go ahead and provide you the consensus. The consensus is not the a-hole.
Yeah.
And let me go ahead and read a commenter, which might give you a little bit more perspective because it's sort of in line with what I think might be going on.
Okay.
She's a new mom. Her hormones are all over the place, and she's probably hardly slept. She's defensive of everything because her body is running on pure adrenaline. I remember those early months. If she's not usually like this, try to let moments of irrational upset go if you can, but up to a point, because anger, sometimes blinding rage, is actually one of the first and strongest symptoms of postpartum depression in many women.
This completely went over my head. Yes.
Your sister might need help from a doctor. Keep an eye on her, give her grace, and remind her of your patience when you have your own.
Okay. I completely forgot about that aspect of this story.
I kind of wondered if you did.
I still stand by she's not the a-hole, but I can definitely understand postpartum is, man, I think that needs to be a part of the training when new dads get into the cycle, because they serve just as big a role during that time period and identifying that and helping your partner through that, because it's devastating. It can completely change someone.
Oh, yes. If anything, I think when I read this, my thought was, well, if she's not normally like this and she snapped at you 3 times, something must be up. I think the only reason why, well, I mean, as a woman, I have to be aware of this. For me, those sort of changes is important because emotions on my front is like a flowing river and sometimes turns into a tidal wave and you're wondering, where'd the river go? Why do I have an ocean in front of me right now? So to be understanding of that in myself and in other women, I think is important. I can't speak on behalf of a man.
Well,
I think
we
that's
should definitely
more
be aware of it too. It's not a gender thing. It's more like identifying when someone's going through a real struggle.
Exactly.
Those are real problems. So,
but for me, the moment that I heard that she's a new mom and there's a baby and she's acting like this, my thought is it's probably that you're going through postpartum depression and either you're still trying to be in line and the smallest things are triggering you. And it's probably not just the sister that's experienced this, but probably even the husband. And
sure, that's
maybe
why
there needs to be some talks of, hey, have you seen anything different with sister?
Yeah.
Now, let me go ahead and provide you with some updates in the comments. Our poster said, I messaged her and apologized again. I know some of you advised me not to do that, but I didn't want to fall out over something as small as this. I also commented on her being a good mom and that I'm proud of her and her husband have done such a great job, which I honestly believe is true. My nephew is such a smiley baby. She mentioned that she didn't like that I talked about her parenting style and that her husband can do whatever he wants, which made me roll my eyes, not gonna lie. I personally feel that is a slippery slope, but it's not my marriage. She added that at times my tone can come off very shitty and that I should watch how I say things to people. I do think she's on to something here. I have been told by a few people before the way I say things makes them feel some type of way. I asked my mom about it and she said I project my voice and I'm quick-witted. I know why I am like that, but I guess I need to monitor how I talk to people as I've had this feedback a few times. I did kind of regret apologizing again because I felt she was being a little self-righteous about it. She said that I should spend some time talking to other people in my family about their boundaries and get to know them because I've just moved back home and I have been away for a while. This way, I could avoid this happening again. I do think all of this happened because she is hormonal, exhausted, and is sensitive. I don't really know what to make of the comments on my personality other than just to be a bit more self-aware. I'm trying to keep my ego in check here, but it's hard. She did add that she thinks I have the best intentions and she loves me. For added context, my older brother, who also lives at home, does not get along with her. They don't acknowledge each other in the house at all, which is toxic as fuck. My brother will only come and hold my nephew when my sister has gone to shower or make his food or something, and as soon as she returns, he'll hand the baby back to me and walk away. My sister expressed that she found this to be unacceptable because her son is at a stage where he is learning social cues and picking up on vibes. She doesn't want him to be exposed to that kind of vibe. This is part of the reason why she left the house. I got to say I wholeheartedly agree with her on this one. I don't know much about babies, but protecting her son from bad vibes is definitely a green flag in my book. Kids are impressionable. Unfortunately, she said she won't be coming back to visit for a while, and if she does, it will be for a much shorter period of time, but she's not sure yet. I haven't replied yet, as I'm still working out how I feel about what she said. I'm not mad or hurt though, and I understand where she's coming from. She has given me a lot to think about, but it's just a lot. Thank you for all your thoughtful, insightful comments. I appreciate it because I have never really asked for a second opinion on my relationship with my sister, and I can see now there are some massive issues that need to be resolved. I do think some of y'all are maybe jumping to the worst case scenario a bit too eagerly, example abuse. However, I will keep it in mind and look out for signs. I do think my nephew is safe and in good hands.
Well, it sounds like this could be its own whole am I the a-hole situation just off of all the stuff she just explained off that update.
Oh yes, it seems like their relationship is tumultuous at best.
There's a lot. At least our OP has gotten to see it from different perspectives, and she sounds like she's at least trying to take it in stride.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. Well, I know we just left our first family in the apartment. We went to this family, which seems to be more than there meets the eye. Now let's go on to this next family and see what you think of them for our next story. Am I the a-hole for letting my in-laws know about the argument that wife and I had? My wife, 36 female, and I, 37 male, had a major argument 2 days ago. We both said things that were hurtful and mentioned divorce. The reason we argued is we've a 2-month-old son. I want my son to attend different classes, especially swimming. I'm working during the week, so I have to rely on my wife to take our son to classes. She attended one session, but for the second one, she said she was tired. She couldn't sleep the night before as our son was fussy and wouldn't sleep. She had to take care of him as I work, and I can't help with night shift. She said she will take him out on our son's schedule, meaning whenever he's not fussy or vomiting. Last 2 weeks, she didn't take him out and claims it was because of the heat wave and she couldn't keep him cool. I decided to step in, and unlike what we'd initially we agreed to take our son to swimming lessons after 6 months, to book lessons to start now. When she found out, she got upset. She said he can't hold his neck and head yet and hasn't completed his vaccinations. She's scared there's a risk that he'd catch viruses from other babies in those classes, as babies of different ages attend these classes. I disagree with her. I think there's no such risk. Otherwise, these classes would be closed permanently. We were arguing over messages when I was at work. When I arrived home, I saw my father-in-law's car parked in front of the house and assumed she told my in-laws about our arguments. I entered the house and immediately asked where my wife was. My father-in-law asked why. I saw her and told her, if you want a divorce, that's fine by me. We will do that, but I'm not going to leave the house until the divorce is finalized and I get my share. Only then, my penny dropped that she hadn't told her parents. I continued and told everyone all that had happened. I need to add my wife is adopted as soon as she was born and never seen her biological parents. Her stepmom, my mother-in-law, has continuously abused her. There was no surprise there that the in-laws jumped to my side. My wife told them to hear both sides before coming to conclusions, but for every detail that was presented, they took my side and supported me. In one of our postpartum arguments, I had told my wife, "Are you even a mother? Do you even have a newborn? You can't even feed your baby." Our son has a tongue tie, so he can't latch onto her breasts. When she told her parents that I had told her that, mother-in-law again took my side and told my wife, so what? Previous night during arguments, I told her that her parents didn't want her after she told me that my parents raised me in the streets. Hence, I don't know how to treat my wife. Both my parents are passed, and I don't want her to talk about them. Neither myself nor my wife said anything to my in-laws about these exchanges. In-laws laughed. My wife texted them that because they've been unreasonable towards her, she won't hang out with them anymore. I had suspected my wife has developed some degree of depression, but after the arguments in front of her parents, she's really sad and depressed. Am I the a-hole?
This is the spiciest of devastating meatballs. What is this story? I feel so terrible for the wife. You're a terrible person. Why would you post this on the internet? You need to go seek some help for you and your wife, and I hope your wife gets away from you and her adoptive parents. The villain told us his side. Let's see if I have all of the facts.
I will clarify what I can for you.
This is a mess. So, him and his wife have a kid.
2 months old.
2 months old. He's pushing to get the baby into swim classes, I think.
Correct. Children can start swimming. Generally, swim classes start at 6 months old.
I was going to say 2 months is a little young.
Which is one of the reasons why
she wanted to wait.
Their initial agreement was at 6 months.
Because he can't hold his neck up. There's things that have to happen first. The baby has to develop. It sounds like they're new parents. So you do have to give a little bit of leeway when you're thinking about this story, but not really.
In the end, she's 36 and our OP is 37.
He's too old to be like that. Your wife is telling you the baby is not ready to go to swim classes yet. She's also making a good point. You have to get vaccinated. There are things your baby can catch. He should have listened to his wife to begin with on these matters, especially if he wasn't, it's interesting, right? Because he's pushing for this. And I understand it, getting the kid into doing stuff, those type of things, being active, wanting the best for your child. But then he's not doing the bare minimum and just researching on his own. There's no excuse for you not to do research. So you're not willing to do just that bare minimum for you and your wife, for your kid's sake? So he goes, has this argument with her. They bring up divorce because he's not getting what he wants the second he wants it because his baby's 2 months old and he wants it swimming now. Fast forward a little bit, he comes home after work after they have an argument over text. He sees his father-in-law's car. He proceeds to go into the house as the terrible human he is. Starts a confrontation in front of the in-laws because he assumes that the wife in the story told the in-laws everything that's been going on. Through the story, we now understand that there's no one that his wife can confide in at all. The disgust that is in this story is deep. You guys basically take turns using her as a punching bag. At 36 and 37, what has your life been up to this point? I'm angry for the wife. You're a foul human. Can I ask, did this type of wiener jacket take off their post?
They did. In fact, they deleted their account.
They're a terrible person. I feel bad for your wife. I think I've said it like 10 times already, but you're definitely the a-hole. That family is the a-hole. I hope that your wife sees better after this situation and leaves you.
Well, there really is no moderator verdict on this, but the Reddit consensus is heavily they are the a-hole. In fact, it looked like he took it down so quickly that not very many people could really say their part when he started to see exactly what the trend was. But I just found it so heartbreaking that somebody would find that it would be okay to gang up against your wife to the point where now you see that she's sad and depressed and you're wondering if you are the a-hole for it.
You're wondering that you used her as a punching bag, that if she's still okay as a human.
That you know that her adoptive parents are abusive towards her.
And used it.
And you went ahead and wanted to get pats on your back.
Foul person.
Throw in her face. Is she even a mother?
Ugh.
That is the fact that he says you can't even feed your baby on something that's not
in her
fault.
control.
It made my stomach sink when I read the story. I truly hope that his wife really does leave him. I usually never say that because I think every relationship should go through its course. But when it comes to abuse on this level...
She's getting it from all angles. Where's she going to get the support to leave that? That one you have to dig deep.
That's very true.
And with those type of people in that type of situation, oh man, I feel so bad for her. That truly is a disgusting story. And the fact that he's on here reveling about how everyone's taking turns punching her down. Oh, that's a bad story.
He's an awful husband. He's an awful father. And he's just as awful as his awful in-laws.
We're going on a run today with really bad dads.
This Monday has been a little rough,
Good
hasn't it?
Lord.
But it's okay. It's okay. Let's see if this next story will bring us back or not.
I hope it does. I just hope wherever she is, she finds the strength to get out of that.
I definitely agree with that. Well, let's go on to our next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to pay for my son's wedding if I have to walk him down the aisle with his stepdad? I was still serving in the Army when my oldest son, Carter, 23 male, was 5 to 10. Me and his mom were divorced by then, but I always made every effort to be a good dad and spend time with him while on leave. When I left the Army, I've spent every moment I could with my boy. We still have a good relationship. Now, my ex remarried pretty quick to a nice guy, Steven, which of course he did treat Carter well, and I'm not knocking that even though we don't get along, but I'm his actual dad. Carter's getting married to his fiancée, Clark, 25 male, at the end of next month. My ex and Steven are kind of strapped for cash, and Clark's family isn't exactly wealthy, so they asked me if I'd foot the bill. I agreed because of course I do anything for my boy. Come to find out yesterday that Carter wants both me and Steven to walk him down the aisle. That honestly really pissed me off to know because I'm Carter's actual dad and I'm paying for everything and I've always been there for him. It hurt a lot that he'd want some step-parent to walk him down the aisle. We got into a huge fight about it this morning, and I told him that I wouldn't pay for the wedding if Steven walks him down the aisle. My ex is pissed and thinks I'm being selfish, but my dad thinks I should push harder. Am I the a-hole?
Another spicy meatball. So let's see if we understand all of the facts. ROP sounds like he's in his late 40s and 50s. We said he was in the Army, so you can understand his background. He sounds very straight-laced. And that's probably where the problem is coming in to this situation. Although he is accepting, his son is gay.
Yes.
So we didn't hear any of the bigotry that would normally come along with these type of stories. So good on him for that, for just accepting his son. He says it, that his son found an awesome person to get married to. And now that they're about to get married, unfortunately, both sides of the family outside of himself can't really afford to help. He is in a place financially that he can. So he does want to help his son because it does sound like he's a good dad. So he says it, his ex-wife gets married to a pretty awesome dude, Steven. And sounds like Steven was a good stepdad to his son.
Even though he doesn't like him.
Yeah, that's the fun part. I like how he goes and he's explaining. He's like, yeah, I don't like the guy, but he's a good guy. So at least he's being fair. His stepdad was a good dad to him. And he wants him to walk him down the aisle too. What a unique situation that your son has a big enough heart to allow not only his father, but his stepfather to walk him down the aisle of his wedding. I think that's fantastic. Now, ROP is definitely looking at, hey, I'm the one footing the bill, so it's going to go my way, which is the problem here. Because everything else outside of that sounds amazing about this OP. I would definitely have to say that I think ROP has a lot of old school values. I think that's fair to say.
Yes.
But I guess we do get into that murky water where we do talk about how if people do help you pay for it, you do need to give them some leeway as to what goes on. I'm going to have to say that I think you're the a-hole for having that viewpoint on it and just not understanding that your son got lucky. He got a dad that loves him and accepts him for who he is. And then he also got a stepfather that is the exact same way. Man, what we just heard in the last story, where the wife couldn't even catch a break, she had 2 terrible parents. And you're sitting here going, I hate that my son has a lot of people that love him the same way I do. So you definitely are the a-hole. I hope people gave you the perspective you needed on this. And I hope you ended up walking your son down the aisle with his awesome stepdad and just embraced the love in that moment.
Wow. The consensus is he is the a-hole. Let me go ahead and read a comment that I felt really touched me. And I hope the message really made it to the OP. This commenter says, I just want to say how awesome you are for even wanting to walk your son down the aisle. As a gay guy, let me just say, I love that you do it. In times like this and the society we live in, not all parents would be and are as accepting. Maybe you overreacted a bit. I totally understand your hurt. Totally get how that can feel like a slap in the face. No matter how good you were or how good the stepdad is, you are the bio dad. It can make you feel less official. Don't abandon your son because of all this. Talk, discuss, etc. He needs you. You need him. It's a wedding with parents who want to be there. We don't all get that. Cherish it. Appreciate it.
That's basically all that needs to happen. Just be a part of the love.
I definitely agree. And it's one of the reasons why I wanted to share that, because I think it's important to know that this poster's son has received love and has given love back. So much so that he's got 2 people that he looks up to and wants to have walk him down the aisle. I think that's amazing.
It's fantastic.
I don't think our poster needs to feel less than.
Just a lot of love there.
So while the verdict was a little bit on the oof side, the story itself, I think, was pretty nice.
He's a good dad. I hope, and I'm certain that they probably made that situation work.
I think so as well. Well, let's go ahead and go to our last story and see what we think about this house we're thinking of purchasing.
Just an emotional ride on Monday. Yeah, you.
Surprise!
I was not ready for your brown-eyed she-demon ways today.
Thank you. Well, for our last story. Am I the a-hole for insisting that my boyfriend be on the mortgage in order to be on the title of my first house purchase? I'm a physician, 33 female, and recently graduated residency. I've been working 60 plus hours per week for 10 years and living on next to nothing that whole time, barely making ends meet. Now I have a job and am buying a house in a different state. My boyfriend of 2 years, 32 male, is currently unemployed and will be moving with me. He is using his severance pay from his last job to help with closing costs, $22,000. But the mortgage, $554,000, is a doctor's loan and is only under my name because we got better interest rates that way. He feels it is important that we are both on the title. I feel uncomfortable with this and keep saying that we can refinance later when he's back on his feet so that he can be on the title and mortgage, but he says this isn't good enough. I offered to do it if we had an ironclad agreement drafted by an attorney, but now it's too close to closing to manage that. We were planning to get married someday, but I'm honestly not sure after the arguments we've had over this. Am I the a-hole for refusing to have him on the title if he's not on the mortgage?
Oh my Lanta. What a good final pick for Monday. This was spicy. Let's gather all the information. OP says it. She's been in school for a little while. Finally got done. Got another job in another state. So things are about to start picking up. You did your grind, and now it's time to reap what you've sown.
And she's a physician.
Yes. Good job. Congratulations. That's a hike. Years. So, she has a boyfriend. Let's frame this correctly. They've only been dating for 2 years. They are not married. They do not have children together. He is now currently unemployed.
Let me go ahead and just add to that. And so that you're aware, this move that they're doing did not impact his unemployment. He got unemployed before this move even happened.
Well, she says he's getting severance right now, and that's helping closing costs. So that's nice. I don't know how long he's been unemployed. But yes, I can definitely understand why his name wouldn't be on a lot of things at this point in time, because that does affect scores. I would still consider it a pretty fresh relationship at 2 years when you're talking about a mortgage and a title to a home, because this is something it sounds like she's worked very hard for. And now she's been given pause through all of this argument because he is being very pushy about it. He didn't respect her boundaries when she said, look, I would rather not. It almost sounds like he's making sure that there's a security blanket at the end, kind of like handcuffing her.
I can see that.
Because why would you be that invested in being on a title, especially when she's being understanding? She's like, look, when we refinance, because that's what happens. You can refinance a home. You can put people on, people off. That can happen later on down the road when people become more financially stable, is what she's trying to say with him. They're going to move to the new place. He's unemployed. He'll find another job. He'll get back on his feet financially. That's responsible. I definitely would take this as a pause for sure. If he's unwilling to see that that's a boundary that you have and he's pushing past it, I would be uncomfortable with that. So I'm going to have to say, in my opinion, you're not the a-hole. I think she's just looking out for her future, and she's unsettled by how he's coming after her and pushing past boundaries.
That's understandable, and I truly commend it. Let me just go ahead and put it that the moderators found this as not the a-hole, but our consensus is truly split.
Wow.
And let me go ahead and provide you with some juicy details because this story is about to get interesting.
Oh no. We're about to go on a ride?
We're about to go on an exciting adventure.
Your smile is infectiously big.
Thank you. So first things first, the boyfriend apparently came on this thread.
No.
And decided to try putting his view into it.
This is fantastic.
Let me go ahead and provide you with just a snippet that I was able to capture so that you can go ahead and see some of the things that he said. He put down, I asked her to wait just 2 to 3 months until I found another job in our new state. We drove to the new city one weekend to look at houses. Within 48 hours of leaving the city, she unilaterally decided to put in an offer. I begged for her to wait and told her that buying your first home, or any home for that matter, in a rush is a bad idea. She looked me dead in the eye and told me she was buying a house with or without me. The boyfriend also said in another snippet that I was able to capture, without being on the title, I am effectively just a tenant who can be evicted through an eviction proceeding at any time.
Sure, well, that's why I said about the handcuffing, but it's much different now.
Now let me go ahead and continue. And someone was actually kind enough to go ahead and capture most of the details of what the boyfriend said, because one of the reasons why I can't find a lot of his comments, or any of them at all, is because they're being deleted. And it looks like they're being deleted by the boyfriend.
What's happening right now?
So a commenter said, yeah. In the post, he said that he couldn't speak for before they got together, but she was not scrimping and saving when she was with him. He paid for all dinners out and entertainment, as well as buying groceries and paying rent/bills. He pays for 2 dogs, vet bills, and said OP doesn't even know the name of the vet. He said that when they were first together, the AC went out on her truck and he paid to fix it. OP says he didn't. He moved away from his home city and family to support her during her residency, and then she got this job and he moved again. He got laid off 2 months ago. OP was determined to buy a house, and boyfriend wanted to wait and rent until he got back on his feet. She did not listen and made a unilateral offer on a house. He said he drove her and paid for gas for the house hunting trip. He said he did not want such an expensive house, but she made the offer without consulting him. She did not have the $5,000 to put in escrow for earnest money, so he gave it to her. She doesn't have to pay a down payment because it's a medical loan. The rest of the $22,000 is closing costs. They went and talked to her parents, and the parents think she rushed in and is in over her head. Boyfriend also thinks this and mentioned that she does not even know what the payments on her student loans will be.
Oh no.
Now, as you can tell, a lot of commenters put down you're the a-hole because they see that it seems as if the OP is trying to put her boyfriend in a rough spot.
Sure.
If he already put $5,000 and then add another $22,000, that's quite a bit of money.
Well,
in severance pay, this is his nest egg.
Sure, but she framed this terribly. Because the way she comes off is like, oh, well, he's unemployed, and it almost sounds like, well, there's no plans of him getting a job and he did it to himself. That's how I interpreted her story, but that's not how this is working out.
I can see that you're a little shocked, but we're not done quite yet.
Oh, my Lanta. That smile on your face is dangerous.
It is. I dug really hard for this. Well, let us continue on with some more regarding this whole endeavor. As you can tell, the commenters are split. Some people still say, even if he's putting $22,000 or $27,000 down, in the end, the loan is for $520,000 of a debt under just her name. Now, let me go ahead and provide you with some comments from our actual original poster regarding her response to her boyfriend's comments. In one of the comments, she puts down, I paid for myself for the entire time. He has never supported me. He is living in my apartment with only myself on the lease. I have always paid half the rent while he lived with me. I also paid half of any receipts that he sent me. I have paid the last 2 months' rent entirely to help him. I did not delete his posts. He deleted the posts when I showed him receipts and proof that he had lied in it. I can and will, partly as a result of this thread, be buying it on my own. We had drafted an agreement in order for him to be on the title, and he promised to edit it, and we would send it to our respective lawyers, but he refused to uphold his end of it. Therefore, I decided that I couldn't have him on the title and will be purchasing the home on my own. Once again, our poster put down another insert in a comment and said, I have never mooched. He paid for dates, social outings, and occasional grocery shopping and vet bills because he didn't send the Venmo request. When he moved into my 2-apartment home, he began paying half the rent and took over the entire second bedroom and bathroom as his office and splits the bedroom, closet, and bathroom with me. My desk is in my bedroom. I will be paying him back for the $1,500 that he invested in this house so far and will be purchasing it myself.
What story have you cobbled together for us today? So wait a second. So OP originally comes on here. She's saying that her boyfriend is all of these things. Then boyfriend finds thread, then comes on and says he is not all of these things. In fact, he is the victim in this story. And then original OP sees this and goes, he's lying to all of you. I have the receipts showing how I am not a mooch, how life has actually been for us. And now he's going, boyfriend in the story, back and deleting his comments.
Correct. But you still have a majority of Redditors or commenters that still believe that she is the a-hole. And I understand it from her viewpoint. I would not, and I understand when it comes to contractual agreements, there's a million ways that you can split something off.
Sure.
I side with the commenters that say that she's not the a-hole. I don't think that you should go into anything contractually. I don't think that she should even take the money, truly. If she wants to go ahead and purchase this home and she doesn't want to be beholden to what he wants, it should be under strictly just her. And for me, if they're having this kind of back and forth where there doesn't seem to be a lot of trust, this relationship is fairly young. It's 2 years. For a lot of people that might be a long time, but when you're talking about $500,000 home, 2 years is very little. I can understand her woes in saying, no, thank you. If you can't be on the mortgage, you're not going to be on the title. To be on the mortgage means that you and whoever's on that mortgage with you owns that debt and will therefore make sure that it gets paid. It's essentially no different than having a signer and a co-signer for a car. Now, she says the reason why he's not on it right now is because it will make their rates fluctuate wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with him being on the title. Even just a fraction of that percentage owned on the title, I think can be pretty messy.
Sure.
As let's say she wants to go ahead and sell that home, he could technically hold that back. I think there's just too much that could just get intermingled in the wrong ways when it comes to properties.
I think the fair way to frame it, though, is they're not married.
They're not.
That's a big responsibility to go, look, we're going to make sure we make all of this work. Because the thing is, if their relationship does go to shambles, that house still has to get paid for. That's where the crux in all of this lies. I guess we'll say it like this, because it does make sense. She wants to keep that home in her name. She's primarily going to be paying for it, it sounds. I think she's looking at it the best way she could. She went through school. She did the grind. She's now ready for her home. She's been in a relationship with him for 2 years, so she understands it's still fairly fresh. But that's not going to stop her from getting to her goals. So she's going to do it, and then later down the road when they've married, if they get married, probably not after all this, but the plan was down the road when they do go to refinance and he's in a better place and they're more stable, that he then be a part of those things later. But that does not affect her future and current plans right today. So I can get where I would understand that part. It's a very interesting story if you take all of it into account.
So a lot of people put it this way. The $22,000, you could see it as rent. Sure. Right? A lot of people say, but it's not really rent if it's going towards someone's mortgage. But that's no different than you have somebody that owns a house and rents it out. They have a portion of that rent money that goes to the mortgage and part of it goes to profits. I personally see it as no different. Sure, it's not going into anything physical for him, but he would be, in my mind, no different where he is now renting than he is in them getting a home and him renting from her.
Well, that would be the reason why he pushed to be on the actual
because for
title.
him, he sees she's getting something out of it.
Yep.
But it's no different than the owner of a house that's renting it, who they have no ties to, doing the same thing.
Sure.
Well, here comes the other shoe that drops for me. If what she says is true and she tried to have something drafted so that he would feel protected on his end, but he never agreed, signed, or edited it so that they could go ahead and get something going, who does that truly fall on then?
It would 100% be him. It just sounds like maybe his ego got hurt, not being as important or a part of it.
I can understand, I guess for me, and this goes back to the ego part, right? I don't know if it's really about ego as it's more about feeling hurt that your partner doesn't trust you.
I can get behind that.
That's where I think I look at this. Is he's hurt that she doesn't trust him, right? You don't trust me to be on the title. You think I'm just going to run you high and dry here?
Yeah.
And I think that's where all of this stems from, where if she's more logical about it and she's like, I think it's really weird to put you on the title, but not the actual mortgage. I get why we're not putting you on the mortgage, but then why couldn't you just wait until things got good and then we can go ahead and add you then?
So are you saying that it's okay that she slowed down her pace to match his? Because of the situations he had already fallen into, even though she doesn't need him financially? Is that fair? Is it fair for him to have invested 2 years into that relationship and feel hurt that he wasn't taken under consideration through these big life steps? That's an interesting conundrum. They're both a little wrong, though, in the ways they went about it.
I feel like in all of this, understanding the situation, everyone sucks here. I think there's no real win. For the life of me, don't understand why the boyfriend would remove his posts unless she is correct and he was proven wrong and therefore had to have the post taken down.
Well, see, that's the other thing is if he is wrong and he was proven wrong, then you're dealing with someone who's just manipulating the facts.
But then who's really manipulating the facts? Is it our poster or is it the boyfriend? It's very hard. The story got convoluted.
If you have the actual receipts, we're talking about literal receipts that she's kept. That's not a lie. That's truth. So it's not really her so much as him doing it, right?
I think, honestly, this relationship is probably done.
What's interesting is she doesn't say that it's done. She said she's just going to keep going forward with her plan and she's going to keep it in her name. She does not say, I'm also leaving him. So then you're playing with this whole, okay, you've gone through this whole ordeal, but you're still staying in the relationship. Interesting. So far as we know. What a messy way to end off Monday.
I wanted us to have some food for that.
Dude, that was the whole meal. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We are regularly posting on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We would also love to hear your viewpoint in the comments section below. Do you think that she should continue to buy the house? That she should not buy the house? Do you think that the boyfriend is right or that the girlfriend is? What's your perspective?
Definitely look forward to hearing that because that's a whole thing. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.